I'd like to formally welcome all of you to the 5th annual workshop on human-computer interaction information retrieval. For those I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm Daniel Tunkelang from LinkedIn, and it's been an extraordinary adventure to see this conference, this workshop grow from the first time that a few of us gathered at MIT 4 years ago, putting together whatever we could scrabble in really a couple of months. I think we had 30, maybe 40 people there. And I remember Ryan flying in from Microsoft as a keynote. We had stolen a title from Gary, who's going to be giving our keynote today. And at the end of it, we're like, wow, we made it. We were at a reception over at Endeca. And we were like, well, so what are we doing next year? Folks like Gene and Rob was meeting for the first time, and we really didn't think when we started this, it was it was really an experiment, but it's blossomed. And looking at the contributions this year, looking at the interest from academia, from industry, even from press, we have somebody here today from Information Today. It's really amazing to see how both the quality and quantity of interest has grown. And last year we also started by having a challenge that would be part of this. And one of the things I'm most excited about is that we'll actually see this year, the second time, a challenge associated with the problem of information availability. The first time I've seen anything like that done. So let me just give an overview of how the actually, before I do that, I really want to also thank the sponsors. And since we have not shown them on the site, that I will name them. We have folks who have sponsored year after year, in particular Endeca, Microsoft Research, and in fact, I believe Microsoft has sponsored the travel. So if you have not already given Kathy student travel information, please find her so that you can get reimbursed. I also want to acknowledge that Kent State University is a sponsor this year, and of course, Google providing this space, the wonderful food we've had, and a huge amount of support. So Dan Russell has tirelessly helped us, and I want to single out his help. Hence the coffee. So let me just point to today's schedule. Hopefully some of you were at the reception dinner last night and enjoyed the recent, not sure continental breakfasts are supposed to come with bacon and coconut fritters, but no complaints. It's a wonderful continent. You're in the welcome now. What we're going to do momentarily is invite the folks who have posters, and in this case, really just the folks in the poster sessions and not the other ones, to come up here and just briefly introduce what you will be talking about. 1 minute, that's a maximum, not a minimum. I'll keep time. And really, this is just a quick teaser without slides, because what's going to happen later in the day, after lunch, is that we'll have posters on the walls here. You're also welcome to use that time to show demos. And even if you are presenting a paper, or in particular, if you're one of the challenge participants, I encourage you to use this time for live interaction. But right after that session at 10, we'll have Gary Marcinini giving the keynote in HCIR, now the tricky part. We'll have a break, some more coffee, and then the first set of paper presentations. And the presentations are actually there. I think they're on an unlisted link, but we do have the order here. What you'll see for the presentations is we have long and short ones. So these are 15-minute and 5-minute. So we've broken them up into 2 sessions. So 3 15-minute ones and 4 5-minute ones in the first, and then similarly in the second section. So we're mixing that up a bit. So we wanted to get as many of you as we could. So the 15-minute ones, we will have brief time for questions after those. For the 5-minute ones, we're going to ask that we hold questions until after all the 5-minute ones so that we can keep on schedule. And again, all the more reason that I encourage you to use the poster session and lunch for ample discussion. So presentations from 11:30 to 1, lunch 1 to 2, 2 to 3 for the posters and demos, and then another session of papers. Then a brief break, and then we'll have the challenge reports. So those will be the 4 teams that have challenge entries will come and they will present tasks they've done. We've held a little bit of the details and varying levels of secrecy till the end to make this interesting. So I want to fill those in now. When the folks come up, they will get to pick their choice of 2 tasks to present. And what I encourage you to do is, instead of just giving high-level overviews of your systems, to, in the context of presenting your tasks, talk about how your systems work. And I'm sure Gary will emphasize this in his own keynote, but please bear in mind, this is not for you how smart you are in the ability to do the tasks, but how the systems support you as an expert in the process of finding information, which is, of course, the whole theme of HCIR. Because this is at the end and we don't want to wait for recounts in the state of Florida to figure out who won, we are going to hold the voting by this great American experiment of democracy. I guess the Greeks came up with it, but we'll try it ourselves. And that will be by a vote here. So if you want your vote to count, I strongly encourage you to stay until the end of the challenge section. People who are submitted challenges should please recuse themselves from voting, even if they're on the program committee. And finally, we'll have a wrap-up session where in particular we'll talk about where we want to go from here. After 5 years, we have some interesting questions which we want to actually engage all of you in terms of where we move with the workshop. So with that, I'd like to go over to the poster session, and not the poster session, I'm sorry, to the poster boasters, if you will. Let me go to here. And what I'm going to ask is look to see where you are. I'm going to ask you briefly, one person who is going to be representing each poster, to come up here and spend up to a minute talking about what it is that you'll be presenting. Feel free to introduce yourself as well. So Jay Wook, if you want to start us off. And for those of you who are not going first, please note where you are in the order. We'll scroll down as we go. So let's keep this moving smoothly. Thank you, Jay Wook.
Actually, it's a very complicated task to analyze the log data of exploratory search systems, and especially when it's combined with personalization. We have transparent user model, and we have a rich set of user interaction log data. So we propose to use a visualization-based tool in this specific study. We used a system called LightFlow, which is sequence event visualization system. It's a very preliminary study, and I'm very much expecting your feedbacks to improve the quality of the study for the near future. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Bateman from the University of Saskatchewan, and I'm powerfully unprepared for this. But basically, my poster, I'm telling you about my PhD work. And for the purpose of the poster, I called it Collective Information Seeking. And why I did that was because I want to make a distinction between 2 other well-known techniques in information seeking: social navigation, where we kind of visualize the traces of people's interaction history to use as guidance, and also collaborative information seeking, where we work together explicitly usually to perform a task or to complete an information seeking task. Collective information seeking is kind of a combination of both of these things, and if you come to my poster, I'll tell you about it. And the why it's important is because a lot of the situations where we need help don't arise in the ways that social navigation or collaborative information seeking kind of address. Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Aisha Goku from City University London. The work we're presenting today comes from a project that is based on photographers and media agencies' use of images. And what we're trying to explore is whether there's a potential for a high-density image retrieval interface, not your 10 ranked order, not your 30 max, but maybe trying to push that a bit to see whether that might be an initial way to understand the space of images to help for further interaction. So if you've got any better ideas for user experiments, which we're in the process of doing and learning, please come and talk to us. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marin Dirk. I'm a PhD student in Calgary and actually currently interning in Seattle with Microsoft. And my poster is titled Exploring Growing Information Spaces. And with this poster, we're trying to advocate for kind of a shift away from this overemphasis of text in information-seeking interfaces and explore novel uses using interactive visualizations to expose all kinds of facets that we have in growing information spaces and kind of show different perspectives on digital information. And I will have a couple demos running to kind of illustrate our kind of point that we're taking with the poster, and I would love to talk to you about it. So come to my poster.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Roberto González Ibáñez. I am from Rutgers University. In our poster entitled A Method to Evaluate the Synergic Effect in Collaborative Information Seeking, we basically propose a method to evaluate the idea that 1 + 1 is greater than 2 in the context of collaborative scenarios in which people engage in search task. So we invite you to come to our poster session to present and explain you more in detail what happened within this process.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jacek Wiszka, another poster from Rutgers University with Michael Cole. Do you know what happens to... Oh, here we go. Okay, that's what happens. But I'm not going to give you any answers here. So do you know what happens to user search performance if you show a results overview just next to the results list? And do you know how different cognitive abilities affect the effort that users are willing to invest in search? Please come to our poster to learn.
Do we have anyone here from the Making Sense of Time poster? Then let's move on to the user evaluation of music.
Hi, everyone. My name is Xiao Hu. I'm an assistant professor in the Library Information Science program in University of Denver. During my PhD study, I was focusing on music information retrieval, and after I finished that, I think it's a very nice extension to involve users to evaluate music information retrieval systems. As it turns out, there are very few studies existing on this area, so I very much wanted to get input from this community that to help us figure out how to better evaluate music information retrieval systems and regarding to user interactions. And for this poster, we did user experiments, and in preliminary results shows some surprising patterns. And do you want to know what's surprising? Come to our poster. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mei Chun from Singapore Management University. So in this work, we focus on how we can better select the scientific publications. So given a publication, one may want to ask, so how much interest does the IR community have on this work? And when did such interest emerge? and how fast was the interest did the interest emerged. So in this work, we were trying to answer these three questions by proposing a trend discovery process. So if you are interested in what we have found, so please come to our poster. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Wong from the University of Washington. My poster is about page-level interactions in improving search. So page-level interactions are your behavior on the search results page, where it's generally data that's not being collected by the search engine. Things like when you're moving the mouse cursor, scrolling, and using tabs. So this is a large set of uncollected data that I believe has a large importance in improving search. So come to my poster and we can chat about that.
My name is Xiaojun Yuan. I go with Jenny from UAlbany. Dima Kasab is my PhD student, and she is quite sick, so she couldn't come to the HCIR. This is a study. This poster is based on an independent study we did together last year. And the purpose of this study is to try to find out how mobile users use their devices and what are the topics and interests, and how they search when they use their small screen devices. So we are now extending the study to get a more comprehensive picture of the whole study, and we are trying to extend the study, and we got very good comments from HCI reviewers, and we are trying to do more studies based on a diary study to find more about mobile users' behaviors. So hopefully it can be extended to a very high quality journal paper. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Anita Komlodi from University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and the poster will talk about how searchers search in their native language and in a foreign language, what the differences are in behavior and in search quality results, search result quality, and we're very early, we analyzed some of the data, but we're still analyzing some other parts of the data. So if you have any input to that, or we're also planning future studies, or if you know about any related work that we haven't found, I would love to talk to you at the poster. Thank you.
Since I don't see Jonathan here and is a colleague, I'll take the liberty of advertising his poster. He, at LinkedIn, is one of the largest faceted search sites on the open web. So it's very interesting to see what facets people actually use in the various searches they do, how they use them in refinements. So if you're interested in seeing what that looks like on a corpus with over 120 million users doing people search, please come and see Jonathan's poster during the session. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abhi. I'm a data scientist at LinkedIn. The title of my poster is it time to abandon abandonment? So I'm talking about abandonment rate, which is a very commonly used measure of search performance. And the purpose of my poster is to highlight some of the challenges and issues related to interpreting abandonment rate and other similar click-through based measures as indicators of user satisfaction on websites. So if you're interested in robust ways of evaluating using click-through data and some of the lessons learned at LinkedIn, please stop by.
Hi, Tessa Lau from IBM Research in San Jose. What I'm going to be talking about today is the future, and we think that in the future everyone's going to be talking to your computers. I'm sure you've seen movies like Star Trek, maybe you've seen Knight Rider, maybe 2001, about HAL. Or maybe even you've had a chance to talk to Siri, Apple's new personal assistant, or maybe you've seen some of the blogs that talk about all of the things that Siri doesn't understand. So we know we're not quite there yet. So, going back to 2001, it would be great to have something like HAL that can understand what you're doing, but it's now 2011 and we still don't have that. What we do have, though, is the web, and we think that the web is going to be the basis for the conversational interfaces of the future. So come by my poster and I'll tell you how that can happen.
If Michael Madison's not here, do we have anyone from the following poster?
Hi, I'm Kalika Bali from Microsoft Research India, and the work that we are presenting in the poster today is with Ravi, who's here, and Monajit Chaudhary back in Microsoft Research India. What we present here is actually a user study that looks at the navigation and search patterns that users employ for different tasks, mainly if they're given textual clues and if they're given visual clues. We think that the main problem lies in the fact that for visual search tasks where you're given visual clues, the users have to interpret the picture to be able, or the image to be able to complete the search task more effectively. If you come by the poster, we'll talk to you about the study and we'll tell you what our main findings are. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Myers. I'm from the University of British Columbia. Today, my poster is called Supporting Inquiry by Design. I'm going to talk about my study that I did. It's an experimental study with over 200 middle school children in their science classroom. And let's face it, middle school kids are not very effective searchers. But when we put them in groups of 3, we found out that they actually did worse. It exacerbated a lot of the bad habits that they do when they work all by themselves. Surprise! But from that study and from the qualitative data that I got from some of the video search logs, I got some suggestions for how we might possibly make the classroom situation a little bit better and possibly turn search engines into inquiry engines. So come stop by my poster and we'll talk about it. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Aditi. I'm presenting a poster here on my PhD work with Marty Hurst at UC Berkeley. And it's entitled Wordsphere, Exploring Language Use in Literary Text. And so the question that you all have now is, why literary text? I mean, what have humanities scholars ever done that's interesting, right? And my answer is that, quite a lot, actually. And there's a lot of really cool questions, especially, that they have to ask of large collections of text. Questions unlike the questions that, business analysts and government intelligence analysts ask. They're interested in tracing characters, identifying themes, identifying stereotypes. And so I'm presenting an interface system that we've created to support that kind of humanistic inquiry on large data sets. So come by my poster and find out all about it.
So since it doesn't seem like somebody is here from Hitachi, and I've received regrets from the folks at Endeca, soon to be known as Oracle, that they couldn't be here today. So are any of the folks from ARMIT here to present their poster? Yeah. Moving along, Kathy.
I am Kathy Smith at Kent State University. We've been working on developing a new version of the Lemur Query Log toolbar to make a more robust system that people could download so that we can do client-side logging and other data collection. And my poster is about the fact that it's very hard to convince people to accept the download and installation of a tool like this. And for studies where we have a very dispersed population, it's essential that we have some way of convincing people that our research is something they should trust and that they should trust the system, download it, and let us collect their data. So the poster is about that. If you're interested in these problems, methodological problems, just come by and talk.
Yes, good morning to all. My name is Ilya Subasic. I come from KU Leuven, that's a university in Belgium. So what I'm here to talk to you about is that in certain domains, people follow the same queries constantly. So you, for example, if you search for news, you would search every week for a specific topic you're interested in. And in this poster, we developed a kind of a framework for evaluating different search interfaces in this task. And if you're interested to come and see also the results of our user studies, so please come and see our poster.
Hello, I'm Daniel Tunkeling, and social navigation is an interesting phrase. If you actually go back, it harks back to the days of the information tapestry work at PARC that really looked at what we'd now call collaborative filtering as the notion of social versus semantic navigation. But if we fast forward to the present tense, we see potentially a very different metaphor of what social navigation is, and namely, that's the notion of giving the user control over the social lens through which you view content. If you come by our poster, you'll see examples of this in the context of commerce, of user-generated content, and of media content, the latter two including live demos of the LinkedIn Signal and Today sites that do those. So please come by and meet me and my colleagues from LinkedIn showing you this. Thank you.
Xiaojun Yuan again. This poster is derived from a federal funded project, and Nick Balkin is a consultant to this project, and also we co-authored with my student and some other collaborators. And in this project, we propose that users will be able to give you, we are able to elicit more clear information needs from a spoken language interface instead than a general search interface which only provide you with keyboard input. If you agree with me, come to my poster. If you don't, we can discuss in front of my poster too. We got a lot of nice comments from ASIST for this preliminary work. We are now in the pilot testing part, and there are a lot to do for the next couple of years. Just if you have any interest, come visit us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Selim Balcısoy from Sabancı University, Istanbul, Turkey. And our topic is about how to understand the context of a conversation and improve it with some videos, online videos. So it's a preliminary work, and with my students, we are trying to solve and attack this problem. There are many issues from UI and to artificial intelligence. So if you want to discuss on those topics, please visit our poster. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yan Zhang. I'm from University of Texas at Austin. And my poster, well, 83% of the American adults looking for health-related information online. And so in the past few years, this consumer health sites was blossoming. But we still don't know what works and what doesn't for users. And I truly believe that a good interface should be able to support consumers' search for health information at every step of the search. So the first step I did is try to review 18 very popular consumer health sites on the web, particularly on their search interface. And so this is my first step. And in the future, I'm trying to study well, what works and what doesn't. So come by my poster and we can discuss further.
So believe it or not, that rounds up the set of posters, and I think much to the collective shock of the committee here, we're ahead of schedule. So this goes to show that if you plan for excess capacity in your systems, sometimes you actually have it. You know, what we've done in previous workshops was to actually have everybody in the room introduce themselves. I think that's impractical if we try to do that within 25 minutes But what I would like to do, since we took the liberty to put everybody who's presenting posters on the spot, is to actually do the same to folks on the committee, especially for folks who are here for the first time. You might not know the folks who've been doing this for a while. So I wanted, if everybody can come up and just briefly introduce themselves, so you know who are the sort of the go-to people, not just for the duration of the day, which I hope you'll really enjoy and make interactive, but also throughout the year. There's actually a year typically between these workshops. And part of the reason we make this in the format that we do is to foster community. One of the also amazing things about putting this in Silicon Valley is that I think we're seeing a whole lot of new folks, particularly from industry and from startups showing up here, who might not be quite as tied into the academic community from which a lot of this arose. So if we could start off, maybe Dan, you do the honors. It was actually our keynote last year and our gracious host.
So I've gone, as was pointed out to me last night, I've gone from keynote speaker to local arrangements chair. Which means next year, you won't let me in. So I'm a user experience researcher here at Google, and my remit is basically to understand how do people search, why do they search in such bizarre ways, and how can we help them be better searchers. So I'm interested in elementary school kids, I'm interested in librarians, I'm interested in adult learners, I'm interested in basically the universe of people searching. And my job here, as Daniel's pointed out, is basically to make all the physical arrangements happen. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Bill Koulis. I'm an assistant professor at Catholic University. I have been involved with HCIR since the first one, I guess. And after I had a little paper, a poster or something at the first one, and then I made the mistake of sending it to Daniel and say, hey, if you need any help next year, let me know. And I've been involved ever since. But I really appreciate the opportunity to come and just sort of share formative research in this kind of a venue, and I hope you get that out of it today too. My research interests are in the areas of search interfaces, faceted search, and some of the related areas there. I look forward to talking to a lot of you over the course of the day.
Hi, I'm Rob Capra. I'm an assistant professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And kind of like Bill, I came to the first one and I made the same mistake. I asked Daniel, I said, do you need any help next year? And he said, sure. But no, I think this is a great community. One of the things that I really value about this community is it's a great place to put ideas out there and get some early feedback. And so I think the posters are a great way for us to do that, interact during the day. That's one of the things I value the most out of this community. I do work in faceted search interfaces. I've recently been working in collaborative information seeking and also do some more personal information management. It's been interesting for me as I watch these posters, though. There seems to be a resurgence of interest in speech recognition, which is great because in a previous life I used to work on voice user interfaces. So I'll come talk to all of you. Anyway, I look forward to meeting you the rest of the day.
Okay, hi, I'm Ryan from MSR. I also gave the keynote for the first HCIR workshop, and after that I agreed to host the event in 2008 at MSR. My interests are sort of in interactive information retrieval. I do a lot of work with logs. We have access to a lot of logs. So I'm particularly interested in how people behave on the web, how they perform web. Search and logs are a great way to sort of see that. So, is that working?
Good
morning. My name is Gene Golchinsky, and I've been coming to these workshops since the first one that Daniel organized. I didn't make the mistake of volunteering for these until this year. So many of you have interacted with me over the review process, and I hope that the outcomes were satisfactory. My interest in this field stems from interactive information retrieval, and lately from in collaborative search. I'm trying to understand how to build systems that support people's searches when they have shared information needs, and I'll be presenting on that later today. I welcome you all, and I hope to talk to you about your work. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Nick Belkin from Rutgers University. I've been working in HCIR since the late 1970s, when it's been called interactive information retrieval, and I'm interested in all of the things that Dan's interested in too, in particular understanding why people engage in information seeking behavior and other kinds of interactions with information, and then how best to support them in those interactions. Recent work has been on personalization, using, in fact, Jeff, page-level interactions, and as Xiaozhong pointed out, working on speech interaction for information seeking. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kathy Smith again, still. I went to the second HCIR conference at MSR, and then I think in the subsequent year made the mistake of saying to Bill, can I help next year? I'd be happy to. So I was local arrangements chair last year at Rutgers, and if any of you volunteered, you can remember moving all the chairs in and out of all the conference rooms. But we made it, we got that done. My work, I'm at Kent State University now as an assistant professor, and my work is focused on search expertise and how people acquire search expertise through training in library schools primarily. At this point, that's what we're focused on. And it's sort of the other end of the spectrum. I'm working on how the processes people use for thinking about words they're using in queries and using words that appear on a screen, either help or hinder the process of being successful as a searcher. So I also am looking forward to meeting everybody and talking to folks. Welcome.